Like any other 8th grader, Will likes to swim. As he jumps into the water, he takes in a deep breath. After a while, his chest starts to tighten, and he begins to feel an uncomfortable pain. He stops swimming and goes up to the surface to take in more air. He wonders why his body wants more air. Why does he need to breathe in order to survive? To put this in perspective, we can survive without food for a few weeks, and without water for a few days, but we cannot survive without air for more than a few minutes. So why do we need to breathe? What is in the air that is so important and essential to our bodies? It is the oxygen from the air that we need. Oxygen gas is a molecule that consists of 2 oxygen atoms bonded together. Its structure is important for its mode of transportation in the blood, which we will cover in a future segment. The human body is made up of trillions of cells that all need energy to survive and function. Cells can extract energy from food, especially the simple carbohydrate called glucose. Cells use glucose obtained from the food that we eat and oxygen obtained from the air that we breathe in order to produce energy in the form of a high-energy molecule called ATP. Without breathing oxygen, our cells would not get enough energy and would quickly die, leading to the death of the brain within minutes. In the process, oxygen is converted to carbon dioxide as a waste product, which we breathe out. Breathing is generated and maintained in a part of the brain called the medulla. But what happens to our breathing when we are physically active? Like Will, many kids his age enjoy playing sports, such as football, basketball, soccer, running, and swimming. Sports and exercise force the body to exert extra effort in order for us to run faster, jump higher, or kick harder. All of these activities require a lot more energy to fuel the cells of the muscles. Thus, they increase our body's demand for oxygen. That is why we breathe more heavily during strenuous exercise. Now, Will knows that breathing is important for survival because oxygen from the air is used to make energy within the cells of the body. But Will wonders how the oxygen enters the body and reaches the cells. What path does air follow in order to reach its destination? The answer is the respiratory system. The organs of the respiratory system helps us breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. First, we begin the journey by focusing on the 2 major entrances that air can take as it enters the body. When we breathe, air comes in mostly through the nose and mouth. The little hairs in the nose help trap dirt from the air and prevent it from getting into our lungs. As air passes through our nose, it is heated, filtered, and moistened. From the nose and mouth, the air flows through the pharynx at the back of the throat and the larynx, which houses our vocal cords and then flows through a long tube called the trachea or windpipe. The trachea contains little hairs called cilia that can move dirt and other particles out of your airways. Your body can either swallow the debris or cough it out with a forceful push. At the bottom of the trachea, the tube branches off into 2 tubes called bronchi. One bronchus directs air to the left lung, and the other directs air to the right lung. After oxygen passes into the lungs, the bronchi divide and branch into smaller and smaller tubes. These tiny tubes are called terminal bronchioles. There are many of these splitting tubes, almost like a tree with a trunk and many branches. The bronchioles eventually terminate into extremely small ducts and air sacs that give rise to numerous tiny spherical alveoli. This is where oxygen is transported into the blood. There are about 300 million of these sacs in our lungs. They puff up with air every time that we breathe in. They resemble tiny balloons clumped together like grapes. The oxygen that we breathe into our lungs needs to move to the blood in order to be transported to the rest of the body. How do we accomplish this? There are tiny blood vessels called capillaries surrounding the alveoli. Their walls are so thin that gases can pass right through them. The alveoli are important because this is where oxygen moves from the airspace to the blood and carbon dioxide from the blood to the airspace. This is a process of air exchange. Once oxygen enters the blood, it is carried by transport cells called red blood cells to the rest of the body. Hemoglobin, found on red blood cells, is a specialized protein designed to carry oxygen through the interactions with iron. The oxygen is supplied to cells of the body, and energy can be created to do many daily activities.